Hey everybody, Max with BuzzTox here, and I am talking about HBO's plans for Game of Thrones and Westworld in the future. So over the course of the last 6 months, we've been getting little nuggets of information on the future of Game of Thrones, and the programming president of HBO, Casey Bloys, addressed many questions regarding the future of Game of Thrones. So let's address all the questions. The first question is, how much Game of Thrones do we have left? Now for starters, Liam Cunningham, who plays Davos Seaworth, actually came forward and said that we have 7 episodes for Season 7, and we have 6 episodes for Season 8. Now, we all knew that we were going to get 7 episodes for Game of Thrones Season 7, and in the news about 6 months ago, it was expected that we would have 6 episodes with Season 8. However, Casey Bloys, the programming president of HBO, recently came forward and said that they really are unsure as to how many episodes they will have for Season 8. And this is because Dan and Dave aren't really finished writing Season 8. They need to shape out the season. And for this reason, Game of Thrones Season 8 hasn't been greenlit yet, and they're waiting for that confirmation as to how many episodes they can expect. And obviously, from Casey Bloys' perspective, he wants more business, so he would prefer to have more episodes for Game of Thrones Season 8. However, I don't think that this is going to faze Dan and Dave. I believe that Dan and Dave are going to stick to what they believe will create the best story. They will not add things for the sake of adding them. So it truly still is up in the air on how much more Game of Thrones we can get. And I just want to throw this out there. People have been saying that we can expect more Game of Thrones. It's confirmed we're going to be getting more episodes, more this, more footage. Nothing has truly been confirmed. We are going to be getting longer episodes, but it's uncertain as to how much longer they would be. The average Game of Thrones episode is about 50 minutes. So if we would actually get a 60-minute Game of Thrones episode, that wouldn't surprise me. So collectively, at the end of the 7 episodes, we would have an extra episode with all the extra time that they've put into it. And we can also get hints at how much longer the episodes would be by looking at other HBO hit shows like Westworld. Westworld followed an hour-long format. However, the finale of the show was an hour and a half long. And considering that Game of Thrones Season 8 had a longer finale that had a time of about an hour and 10 minutes, I think we can expect a really long finale for this season. And for everyone out there who's upset that we're going to be getting less Game of Thrones, it does have a positive side. The budget for Game of Thrones Season 6 sat around $100 million. That's about $10 million per episode. And from a business standpoint, 7 episodes are able to cram more budget inside of 7 episodes, so we're going to be treated to a more high-quality show. It's going to feel like a movie. Now that takes me to the second question. Will there be a Game of Thrones spinoff? Now the programming president of HBO, Casey Bloys, said that they would have to be stupid not to do a Game of Thrones spinoff. And I totally agree. I can pretty much confirm that they're going to be doing a Game of Thrones spinoff pretty much immediately after Game of Thrones Season 8. I think we will get an announcement that a Game of Thrones spinoff is in production about 6 months after Game of Thrones is wrapped. And this is an opportunity that HBO has to capitalize on because it is hugely profitable. First of all, the popularity of Game of Thrones has become a cultural phenomenon, and it's really put HBO on the map. When they reboot the series, they're able to bring it back, cut costs on production and on cast. When they recast everybody, it'll cost a lot less, and they get to maintain that strong IP, Game of Thrones, that brand that they have developed, and that will be extremely profitable for them. And there are so many different spin-offs that they could do. You have Dunk and Egg, you have Aegon's Conquest, Dance of Dragons, Robert's Rebellion, and any other aspect of history in Game of Thrones lore. But the spin-off that they choose to go with really depends on their vision for the next Game of Thrones spin-off. Do they want it to be a classic Game of Thrones tale? Do you want to tell the story of multiple characters throughout the world of Westeros and Essos? Or do you want to tell a more streamlined story, like Dunk and Egg, and focus on 1 or 2 characters? And another question is profit. How much do they want to invest in this show? If you go with something like Dunk and Egg, you will be spending a lot less money in production costs than you would with Aegon's Conquest or a Dance of Dragons, because, for example, CGI dragons cost a lot of money. So it depends if they want to provide a new perspective to Game of Thrones or give pretty much more of the same with a new story. And I personally think both are equally as possible. Dunk and Egg is the more profitable route because you can bring in that Game of Thrones IP, really push it, and get a lot of viewership while spending very minimal cost. However, if you invest more into an epic show following the Targaryens, I think that'll warrant a lot of attention. And you already have a huge fan base. You can mitigate risk and invest more into the show and capitalize on that opportunity. And that takes me to my third question. What is the release date of Game of Thrones Season 7? Now, so many people have been asking this question, and the truth is it hasn't been confirmed yet. The most recent news is that IMDb has said that it is going to be in June 25th. And I want to tell you guys that IMDb isn't a credible source. It can be edited. So I don't think IMDb should be the source to look at for confirmation if Game of Thrones is going to be released on that date. However, I do agree with this release date. I've been saying for a while now that we can expect it in late June, early July. And IMDb drops right where I was thinking. So this does make a lot of sense because we would get one episode in June, we would get a full month of July, and then we'd get a finale episode in the first week of August. So I think this is a smart move for a bunch of different reasons. Obviously, they had to push because of weather and production. But I think just as a release window, it is really smart for HBO, and that is because of Westworld. Now with Westworld, there have been many questions. When is it going to be released? Casey Bloys stated that they were actually looking for a fall 2017 release. But because of the writers, Jonathan Nolan, Lisa Joy, and Haley Gross, they've postponed it because they really want to get this season right. They don't want to just push it out, and they want to make sure it maintains all of the elements that the last season had. It followed multiple timelines, multiple perspectives, and had a lot of really important twists throughout the series while teasing that to the audience. They want to recreate that magic, so they're going to need more time to write it. So it's a 100% guarantee that we're going to get Westworld in 2018. So that raises the question, when? When in 2018 can we expect Westworld Season 2? And I personally believe it is one of two options. The first date is at the end of 2018, and I don't think that this is possible at all. And that is because it is a 2-year wait. And Westworld took off so fast with fans, and to make them wait for 2 years isn't smart for your brand. The faster they release it, the more attention they're going to get on their new season. They need to capitalize on this trend fast to ensure that all of these watchers who watched Westworld Season 1 will come back and watch Season 2. Waiting 2 years isn't the best way to do that. So that takes me to when I think Westworld will be released, and I think that is in January or February of 2018. I think this is the perfect time to release because it's only a 4 or 5 month delay. So that's great because the show is still fresh in everyone's minds, and they don't have to wait a whole extra year to get Westworld Season 2. On top of that, it fits well with HBO's schedule. I said the fact that Game of Thrones is coming for late June, early July makes a lot of sense. Because from a business standpoint, HBO needs people to be subscribed to their channel. And if you have a powerhouse show released in June, in the summer, and if you have a powerhouse show released in January, in the winter, that is the best way to have your customers stay subscribed to your content all year round. If you have a powerhouse show on either sides of the month, it makes it more likely that people will keep their memberships. This is also a good time because by the time Game of Thrones Season 8 is finished, we need a show to kind of fill in that gap, and Westworld has to be that show until Game of Thrones gets a spinoff. But that's it for me, everybody. Let me know what you think about all this news. Let me know when you think Westworld is going to drop, and let me know what Game of Thrones spinoff you guys would want the most. I would really like to hear what you guys have to say, but until then, I'll see you guys later.